To the Board of County Commissioners zoning meeting for Thursday, August 24th, 2023. And if I can ask everybody to please go ahead and take your seats and we will get started. Madam Clerk, can we have a roll call, please?
Here.
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 All right. We are going to have Commissioner Bernard will be leading us in our invocation and Pledge of Allegiance. If you're able to, please rise.
Dear God, as we gather here today, we pray that we are ever mindful of opportunities to render our service to fellow citizens and to our community, keeping in mind always the enduring values of life, exerting our efforts in those areas and on those things upon which future generations can build with confidence. Let us continue to strive to make a better world. Amen.
All right. Let's see, before we move on, a couple things just to put everybody on, make everybody aware. So Commissioner Bernard will be leaving us approximately 10:30 this morning. He has a commitment to attend to. And then a number of my colleagues would like to attend the Forum Club today. And so we are going to try. Well, we will break somewhere between 11:30 and 11:45 so that they can do that, and then we'll reconvene probably somewhere, and we'll see how we're doing between 1:15, 1:30. Okay? So everybody is aware of that. So with that, has notice been provided?
Yes.
You want to put it on the record? Has notice been provided?
Yes, we have.
Thank you. All right.
Motion to approve. Motion to receive and file proof.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Bernard to receive and file proof of publication. We have a second from the Vice Mayor. All in favor, all opposed, that motion carries 7-0. All right, County Attorney, can you please swear in those which would like to speak on our zoning items?
Anyone that'd like to speak or testify on any of today's items, please rise and raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you.
All right. And next, are there any amendments to the agenda?
Yes, we do have a few amendments to the agenda, starting with consent agenda, item number 4, Posh Hospitality, which is 2022-1312. We have an amendment to our all petition condition that's stated strikeout and new underline. On the regular agenda, items 6, 8, and 10, we just have a reminder that there's disclosure for each of those items. We didn't have it on the agenda.
Okay.
And last, there is a request for item number 1, the Islamic Center 2022-1490 for a postponement, but you will have the applicant come to the podium under that agenda item.
Okay. Thank you. Well, so we sort of got, okay, so let's, do we have a motion to adopt the agenda as amended? We have a motion by Commissioner Marino, a second by the Vice Mayor. All in favor, all opposed, that motion carries 7-0. All right, so now we're to postponements.
Yes, so item SVCA 2022-1490 Islamic Center, and if the applicant can come to the podium.
Good morning, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners. Bradley Miller from Urban Design Studio here representing the applicant with the respect of the Vice Mayor and District Commissioner of this, we are agreeing to a postponement to September 28th with the understanding that we'll be meeting with the St. Mary's Church tomorrow, hopefully, as well as meeting with engineering prior to the next hearing to talk about the roadway improvements. So,
All right. Would somebody like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we,
Vice Mayor?
Mr. Mayor, if I may, are there any comment cards on this one?
actually. Drew Martin, you put a comment card in for this.
This would be on the postponement.
I'm all for postponing things, that's great. Maybe they can do it permanently, never happened.
All right, thank you, sir. Any other cards on this item? All right. All right, Vice Mayor.
Thank you very much. Mayor, I'd just like to, before we take to the motion, I'd like to thank Mr. Miller, Bradley Miller, on this, and also Patrick Rudder and the staff for working on this so diligently. We will bring this in for a landing, and I think that the postponement is good for everybody, and I want to thank you so much, sir, for that.
you're welcome.
So with that, I make the motion that we postpone item number 1 on the consent agenda, SV-CA 2022-01490 to September 28th, 2023.
Okay, we have a motion by the Vice Mayor. We have a second by Commissioner Marino. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, all opposed, that motion carries 7-0. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, so, moving on to the consent agenda, minus item number 1. Does any commissioner wish to pull any other items off consent? Seeing none? Okay, we have 3 cards. We'll go ahead and take those cards.
Mr. Martin, you put a card in for item 2, item,
Oh, first we need to do disclosures. Okay, let's
Sorry.
start with disclosures. Thank you. Commissioner Barnett, do you have any disclosures on consent agenda?
Only on item 1, but
It's pulled, so you don't, okay. Commissioner Woodward,
No disclosures?
Commissioner Marino,
no disclosures.
On the,
Commissioner Bernard,
Okay.
None, Mr. Mayor.
Commissioner Baxter? Thank you. Vice Mayor?
I just want to be sure that we do not, no, okay, none.
Thank you. And for myself, I have no disclosures on the consent agenda. So with that, okay, now we can go into our cards. So each person will be given 3 minutes. Wait. Oh, it's the same person on,
Mr. Martin, you put a card in for item 2, item 3, and item 4, is that correct?
yes, ma'am, can I speak at all of them at once, or do you want?
sure.
Especially if you make it brief.
I want to thank you for giving me 9 hours, 40 minutes, and 41 seconds.
We're gonna take
I'll
care
try
of
to be
that.
more brief than
We're
that.
we have to do break for lunch, you know, so,
Okay, well, I won't go through lunch.
there we go.
The Sierra Club, I'm here on behalf of the Sierra Club. We oppose the continued development in the Ag Reserve. We don't think I think someone referred to it as 40,000 new car trips. And that's going to affect people who live out there. And all these services are can be provided very near to the Ag Reserve, so they don't have to be in the particular Ag Reserve itself. I think with what happened in Maui, and you know, it's interesting because it's not just flood, which of course can impact people, but it's also fire. And when you get flood, fire, and no emergency services like they did in Lahaina, you get a significant death toll. And fortunately, they could jump in the ocean. There isn't going to be any ocean near the Ag Reserve. They might jump in a canal, but that's probably not going to be very safe. So, you know, I hope that at some point the county of Palm Beach will start to look at what the long-term results are going to be of these developments. And I hope that commissioners will acknowledge that there are repercussions that may not be considered in many of these presentations. With that, we can break for lunch.
Thank you very much, sir. I just want to ask you, Item number 2, are you in opposition to the fire station?
No, I'm not in opposition to the fire station.
Okay, just
I
wanted to clarify.
I just wasn't sure what it was at the point. So, yes, no, we are not against fire. And in fact, a fire station out there might be very useful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just to point on the record, item 2 is actually in Westgate.
Oh, sorry.
Item 3 is at 441 and Lantana, and item 4 is on Kentucky and Congress. They are not in the Ag Reserve.
None of them are in the Ag Reserve. Okay.
No.
No, that's okay. They're not in the Ag Reserve, so we're good.
They're close.
I heard something once about being close, but I won't repeat it in here. Yeah, no, it's not appropriate. Okay, all right. With that, would somebody like to make a motion on the consent agenda?
So moved, Mr.
We
Mayor.
we have a motion by Commissioner Bernard. We have a second by Commissioner Baxter. All in favor, all opposed. That motion carries 7-0. Okay, moving on to regular items. So that'll bring us to item number 5. And I guess we will hear from the applicant.
Okay. Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Lauren McClellan with J. Morton Planning and Landscape Architecture. On behalf of the property owner, I'm presenting the EJKJ Commerce, is that better? Okay. The EJKJ Industrial Future Land Use and Concurrent Zoning Application. I'm going to present the two items together. So the 8.11 acre property is located on the west side of State Road 7, south of Atlantic Avenue. The two applications before the board are to adopt a future land use amendment from agricultural reserve to commerce with an underlying agricultural reserve, as well as a zoning map amendment to rezone the property from agricultural reserve to multiple use plan development, MUPD. So the first application that I'm going to present is the comprehensive plan amendment. This may seem familiar to many of you because it was before this board on November 28, 2022 for transmittal. It was transmitted unanimously by this board at that time. So again, the application is for a future land use amendment from AGR to commerce with an underlying AGR. We do have two conditions, and we're in agreement with those two conditions. This map shows the surrounding future land use designations in the area. You can see to the north is a commercial low with an underlying agricultural reserve. That's the Wawa. Then to the east of that site is the existing industrial corridor within the agricultural reserve. And then to the south of the property is the Sunflower Industrial Project that received approval for a land use change a couple of years ago. This property is located within the area that is allowed to obtain a commerce land use change. I know that there's a change coming before this board, but this is already in the existing area. So now just to kind of show you some context around the property. So to the north of the site, that's the Wawa. There's a picture of the Wawa that's at the southwest corner of Atlantic Avenue and State Road 7. To the west of the property is the Amerigro chipping and mulching facility. You can kind of see it in that picture in the background where all the dust and then the mulch piles are. That's directly to the west of the subject site. And then directly to the south of the subject site is the Sunflower Landscape Services business that I mentioned. So then the second application is the rezoning from agricultural reserve to MUPD. So this shows the zoning map of the properties. You can see the MUPD for the commercial and the industrial to the north, as well as light industrial for the project to the south. Then this is the site plan. The applicant is proposing a 111,300 square foot single-story office warehouse building We have access from State Road 7. We have a dedicated right turn lane as well as a dedicated left turn lane. And then we're accessing from 103rd Access Road to the south. These applications have recommendations of approval from the Planning and Zoning staff, as well as from the Planning Commission, the Zoning Commission. And then, as I mentioned, the board unanimously voted to transmit this application last year. And we are requesting approval of the land use amendment as well as of the rezoning. If you have any questions, I'm available. Thank you.
Are there any questions for the applicant at this time? Not seeing any questions from the board. We would now get the staff would like to make a presentation.
Just very quickly, on behalf of planning staff, we're happy to give a presentation. We have Mr. Goodson here. There's not really anything that's changed. The applicant gave a fairly accurate, or completely accurate, sorry, we're under oath, I want to be clear.
We're all out of practice.
Gave an accurate depiction of the comp plan amendment process, so didn't mean to be disparaging, I apologize. We don't have the need, I know zoning may have their presentation, but you heard this is substantively unchanged. We only had a minor technical comment on state agency stuff. Happy to go over it, but you've
Okay.
heard it.
All right, with that, we'll move to disclosures. All right, so this would be on the item, the disclosure would be actually on item 6. So, all right, we will start on my right, Commissioner Baxter, disclosure on item number 6.
No written communication. My office met with Jennifer Morton and Lauren McClellan. No site visit, and has been provided.
Thank you. Commissioner Bernard.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Verbal communication with Jennifer Morton and Lauren McClellan and received emails and no site visit.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Marino.
Thank you, Mayor. Met with Jennifer Morton and Lauren McClellan and received letters.
Thank you. Commissioner Woodward.
Yes, my office met with Jennifer Morton, Lauren McClellan, Jim Knight, and email correspondence that has been filed.
Thank you. Commissioner Barnett.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Verbal communications with Lauren McClellan, no written correspondence, and no site visit.
Thank you. Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. Verbal communications and meetings with Jennifer Morton and Laura McClellan.
Thank you. And my disclosure on this item had verbal communications with Jennifer Morton, Lauren McClellan, and we received email correspondence been filed with the clerk. All right, with that, disclosures are completed. Can we move to public comment?
Mayor, can we combine comment on 5 and 6, or do we have to take them separately?
No, we'll take, because we're handling this as one item.
Drew Martin and Gail Ladd, you put cards in for both, so you can each grab a microphone.
Again, I wish everybody a good morning. Drew Martin, I'm on here on behalf of the Lock Touch Group of the Sierra Club. I just think that we're, trying to do this in a really piecemeal fashion, but we're not looking at the larger implications. And a lot of that is just because it's designed to pass all these things. And so if you don't have to look at the long-term drawbacks, then you don't have to address them. And it's very disappointing, particularly with the 4-county climate summit and what's going on in the world. And by the way, we have about 10 named storms out there. So, I don't think we can count on not seeing hurricanes. And I think the unfortunate thing is now we see the risk of fire, we see the risk of flooding, we see the risk of definitely people aren't going to be able to get out. And it's not just during the storm, it's after the storm. And we look at these people, they've lost everything. And, a lot of the people out in the ag reserve are people that are over 65, 70, 80. They're not going to be very mobile. It means there's going to be a lot of rescue. It's going to be a big expense for the county. And we don't think about that. What are we going to have to pay? Yes, we support fire rescue. And even if it's not in the ag reserve, it's nearby, and anything nearby is going to affect, I mean, the roads don't, widen to 10-lane highways as soon as you leave the ag reserve, right? So, you're going to fill up 441, you're going to fill up I-95, and we're going to have a lot of difficulty. People aren't going to be able to get food. They're not going to be able to get even potentially safe drinking water. So I think you need to start thinking about a lot of these impacts. The other thing is every time you do approve this, you lose open space, you have more rooftops, you collect more heat, you have more heat impact, it requires more energy, more air conditioning. So I just hope that in the future, we'll have some people here from the Resiliency Department so we can hear both sides. Because obviously, rushing to approve things, you're not hearing the full story. Thank you so much. Have a nice day.
Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Gail Ladd. I also am a member of the Sierra Club. And I totally agree, of course, with what Drew Martin has just said, but I also want to understand, I know that you are all doing the best that you can, and you feel like you are doing the best for the county. However, I disagree with you. I really think that you need to think ahead. I know all of these changes in the Ag Reserve have caused a lot of traffic, have caused a lot of unnecessary infrastructure. I really believe that you need to think ahead. I really think you need to think back too as what has happened so far. And I really think that you need to, in your jobs as public servants, to think about everybody, not just think about the applicants who sound wonderful. I mean, they could convince me too if I wasn't careful, because they are so good at presenting all of their reasons why you need to change things. But the Ag Reserve was there for a reason, and we really need people who maybe they don't want to have their farms anymore. Maybe they need to sell them. Fine, find some other farmers. I'm sure there's some out there somewhere who really want to be part of the land. And I really wish that you would stop paving paradise and putting up parking lots and houses. Thank you.
Any other cards on this item? Okay. All right, comes back to the board. Would anybody, is there any comments? Would somebody like to make a motion? Okay,
Which item 5?
we'll start with item number 5.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to adopt an ordinance approving the EJ/KJ Industrial Fluid Amendment.
We have a motion by Commissioner Bernard. We have a second by Commissioner Barnett. Is there any further discussion on this item? Seeing none, all in favor? No, I think we can just take it. All in favor?
Aye.
And any opposed?
Yes.
Okay, so that vote goes, that would be a 6-1 vote. Yeah, we can just do that. Okay.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to adopt a resolution approving item 6A.
We have a motion by Commissioner Bernard to, on item 6A, it's adopt a resolution approving it. And we have a second? We have a second from Commissioner Barnett. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? All opposed?
Yes.
And that will be 6-1, Commissioner, with Vice Mayor in opposition. Okay. Moving on. We are now into items 7 and 8, companion items, a comp plan change as well as a zoning application. Ms. Morton, you are recognized.
Good morning, Mayor. I was out in the hall when you did the swearing in. Could I get sworn in, please?
You said sworn in, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Go ahead. They know what I meant.
Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Sorry about that. Okay. Good morning. My name is Jennifer Morton with J. Morton Planning and Landscape Architecture, and I do appreciate the opportunity to present the BC Commerce Project to you today. This site is located on the west side of the Florida Turnpike. It's in the Ag Reserve. It's bordered by 3 roads. We have the Florida Turnpike on-ramp to our east. We have Boynton Beach Boulevard along our southern property line, and we have Acme Dairy Road along our western property line. To the north of the site are some wholesale nurseries, a landscape services, and then north of that there are some single-family large lot residences and additional wholesale nurseries. To the south of the project are 2 applications that are in process. The Logan Ranch project and the Erickson project. If you look along the corridor, there's a series of uses: Caridad, Soup Kitchen, Cobblestone Plaza. On the south side, we have the schools, and we have Canyon Town Center. We have 3 requests before you today. The first is for a land use change to adopt a amendment to the future land use to change the property from AGR to commerce. The second is a zoning map amendment to rezone the property from AGR to MUPD. And then we have 2 conditional uses. The first one is for self-storage, and the second is for a tap room in conjunction with a brewery. First, I'm going to briefly touch on the comprehensive plan adoption. We did a full presentation to the board back in February. The board transmitted the request for commerce. The request came back, and one of the conditions of approval required concurrent zoning approval with the land use change. So we're back before you with both the comp plan and the zoning application. We meet the criteria established in the comprehensive plan for the adoption. So I'm going to go to the rezoning and the conditional use. This corridor, we're requesting MUPD zoning, and you can see from the graphic that this corridor already includes most of the property as MUPD. The 2 parcels to the south of us will also be requesting MUPD. But now to the fun part, the site plan. This property is 47.21 acres in size. We do have a combination of development area and preserve area. Our preserve area is 12.14 acres, and our development area is 34.21 acres. We're proposing just under 360,000 square feet, and what that equates to is a 0.32 FAR. When we started this application and this process, the comp plan allowed a 0.45 FAR. I know there's a revision to the comp plan to allow for a 0.35. We're even under the 0.35. We're at 0.32 FAR. The building heights range, most of the buildings are 35 feet in height. We have 2 locations where we need to exceed that 35 feet in height, and I'll get into the height issue in a minute. And then the uses that we're proposing. So we have a combination of uses on the property. A lot of the development of this site plan and the uses that we're proposing were the result of a lot of neighborhood outreach meetings, talking with the residents that currently live in the area, as well as several neighborhood organizations. When we started this project, we actually just had a small amount of light industrial uses combined with multifamily. When we met with the residents, they indicated that the neighborhood was lacking in community serving uses for the families that live there, as well as space for the air conditioning company, the electrician, the irrigation company. So we continued to modify our request and have since submitted for the commerce as the overall development program. The western side of the site, we're proposing the office warehouse component. Again, those uses are businesses that will serve the residents that live in the Ag Reserve and the future residents of the Ag Reserve. But then we have some other uses. One is fitness center, rec, flex space, and that's space for tenants that may want to put in a gymnastics studio or a batting range or a ballet Florida type of use. So those uses really do serve those family communities. Right now, they all get on the Florida Turnpike and head south to Broward County or north to Lake Worth Road or some of the other areas. With this project, they would have their own area for some of those uses. And probably the most talked about use is the brewery. And this was put forth by the residents that live in the area. This is an up-and-coming use, very popular with families. People bring their kids to the brewery. They have outdoor space. They bring their dogs. And it's really a place where they meet friends and family. And so we are planning for an area that would incorporate a brewery and tap room. And the last use is the self-storage use, self-storage and wine storage. There are two partners developing this property, Malcolm Butters with Butters Development and John Channing of the Channing Group. And the Channing Group has a what I would call a high-end self-storage facility in PGA, along PGA Boulevard, and he's looking to do a similar type of program on the Boynton Beach Boulevard corridor in South County. And these are just some images of the types of uses that we're proposing, we're looking for tenants on. We're still at the very preliminary stages, but I think this is something that the community is excited about coming to this site. Another use is indoor pickleball. That is probably one of the fastest growing sports. I work on a lot of residential communities. The communities that were developed prior to the pickleball rage are looking for every scrap of land to locate a pickleball court. And all the newer communities have 10 and 12 pickleball courts. So it's a growing sport. What we don't have in Palm Beach County or South Florida is indoor pickleball. A lot of times it is so hot outside that it's very difficult to be out there playing. And so they've been talking to a potential tenant about doing an indoor pickleball club or facility. They might have 1 or 2 outdoor courts in the green area, but it's primarily geared towards air-conditioned pickleball space. And these are just some images of some other indoor recreational uses that, that the developer is working with potential tenants on. So access to the property. As I mentioned, we have about 3 roads. Our primary ingress and egress to the property is from Boynton Beach Boulevard. We will have a right in, right out, and left in to the site. The right in, we are proposing to construct a right turn lane for access into the property. Along Acme Dairy Road, we have 2 access points. During our community outreach and meeting with the residents, one of the residents requested that we have a right turn lane on Acme Dairy Road into our project entrance. So we are proposing to add that right turn lane into that southernmost entrance. It's not required, but we're doing that at the request of the neighbors. We're also dedicating the right-of-way for the right turn lane on Boynton Beach Boulevard. So I mentioned I would come back to the issue on height. And as you can see from this graphic, most of the buildings are limited to 35 feet in height, except for 2 locations. The first location is that building that abuts the Florida Turnpike that runs north-south. It's labeled Fitness Center, and a height is identified as 35 feet/45 feet. And as the developer has been out there meeting with tenants, one of the potential tenants is a rock climbing business. And so within the last 30 days, we've been able to find out that they need a portion of their roof height to extend to 45 feet in height. So we've been working with staff, and we have a condition that will allow, it's called Building A, to pop up to a 45-foot roof height for only a portion of that building. So that works for us, that works for staff. And you can see on this graphic For the most part, everything can fit within the 35 feet, but that picture on the north east side of the drawing, that wall gets pretty tall. So some of the kids and some of the adults want to be able to challenge themselves. So we'll have a portion of that building that goes up to 45 feet. And the second area where we need the flexibility is the self-storage facility. The self-storage facility was strategically located adjacent to the Florida Turnpike and Boynton Beach Boulevard in that southeast corner. That building is proposed in that location because it's not adjacent to any existing development. The 50-foot tall building that's proposed is for wine storage and self-storage. Couple of points to make. One, that the corridor already has buildings that are similar in height. If you look at the self-storage facility just to the west of this project, that self-storage facility proposes 45 feet on their approved site plan. So it would be a significant disadvantage if this developer were limited to a 3-story, 38-foot height limitation. Also along the corridor, the middle school, the Sunset Palms Elementary and Middle School, the middle school building at one time was identified as 55 feet in height. It's actually 48.5 feet to the top of the roof. So again, we're consistent with that corridor by asking for 50 feet. And then as you go further west, the hospital has a 100-foot height limitation. The other thing that by allowing higher buildings, it also helps to break up the roof line for a project. So every building isn't exactly the same height. And again, we think that the flexibility also adds to the aesthetics of the corridor. As I mentioned, we've been doing a lot of community outreach. We've been meeting with BARC, we've been meeting with COBRA, and we've been very successful in being able to get letters of support. We received a letter of support from BARC for the project as presented. All the uses, the height, the design, all being supported by BARC. We also got a letter of support from COBRA for the project. They are asking for a condition to limit our height to 38 feet. I think I just mentioned why that condition does not work for this project. But overall, they support the project. They do have the height limitation request on there. So that brings us to 2 conditions of approval that we've been working with staff on. The first condition is on use limitations. Right now, there's a condition that limits the project to no outdoor events or amplified music or sound. This condition would extremely limit the brewery. As I mentioned, there will be some overflow into that outdoor space, and the vision is to maybe have a guitar player on a Friday or Saturday night. We definitely want food trucks to be able to come and be a part of this project, and there will be the outdoor space will be energized and used by the businesses and the people that live in the area. So we're asking to have that condition struck, and we're asking that when the board approves the project that condition would be struck. And then secondly, it just relates to the manufacturing and processing, which is the brewery use. When we first started working on this project, we assumed that the brewery would want to have their own freestanding building. It's identified as Building C on the graphic. And as further discussions were held with potential breweries, and I think you'll hear from the developer later on, they, not all breweries want to have their own freestanding building. Some of them may want to be in the bays along Building A. So we've been working with staff. We are proposing a condition of approval that would allow us to locate the brewery either in Building C or Building A. However, we must maintain a 240-foot setback from our north property line. So we worked on that condition with staff. In conclusion, We've been through a lot of public hearings, a lot of neighborhood meetings. We have support from staff on the land use change. We had support from Planning Commission. This board transmitted it. Even the zoning requests, we have support from zoning staff. We have Zoning Commission recommended approval. And then we have support from both Bark and Cobra with the request for the condition. But a lot of support out there for such a, big project. I think it's really, I want to credit my client for making the effort to really reach out and find out what the residents want to see. Therefore, in conclusion, we request that you adopt the ordinance approving the Commerce future land use and that you adopt the resolution approving a rezoning to MUPD and conditional use for the self-storage and tap room. Thank you.
All right, is there any questions for the applicant at this time? I'm not seeing. Okay, next, staff presentation.
For the land use, we have staff here. Again, there, as the applicant indicated, it's substantively unchanged from a land use, but I would recommend if you do not want the land use, that you still hear from zoning staff about the zoning item.
Okay. Zoning staff. Does anyone want to, does anyone need to hear about the land use?
Yes.
Oh, you want to hear about the land use or the
Well,
zoning?
Zoning.
Thank you. We will hear about zoning. I just wanted to make sure nobody wanted land use first. Go ahead.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Carlos Torres. I'm with the Zoning Division. The application under discussion today is, as it was indicated, is northeast corner of the Boynton Beach Boulevard and Acme Dairy Road, immediately west to the Turnpike. The site has an NGR future land use designation with an AGR zoning districts. The requests are for a zoning map amendment and 2 class conditional uses. One for a tap room as an accessory use, and the second one to limit access to service storage. There was an additional type 2 variance request that was presented to the zoning commission. It was approved back then. The application that you're seeing today is continued to the future land use amendment. The rezoning to the MUPD will allow the development of commercial, industrial, and recreational uses. The surrounding areas are zoned MUPD, AER Reserve, and AER Preserve. Immediately to the south of is an AER, but 2 applications are proposed for future land use and modifications. One of these applications you will be seeing today, which is the Logan Ranch. Access to the site are from Boynton Beach Boulevard and Acme Dairy Road. The preliminary site plan indicates 8 buildings with a total of 660,000 square feet, which include 4 warehouses with accessory uses, 2 fitness centers buildings, one on the east side, and the second one on the west side of Boynton Beach entrance. There is also 1 self-service storage on the south corner of the site, and 1 manufacturing processing brewery distillery with a tap room on the west side of the Boynton Beach entrance. In addition, the development is proposing a total of 938 parking spaces with a proposed type 1 waiver for a parking reduction of 165 spaces. The site plan that you're seeing today also shows a 12.15 acre preserved water management and detention tract, which is that T-shaped area which is located immediately north of the development and abutting the north boundary line. This results in a separation of almost 200 feet from the closest building to the northern property. The placement of the preserve along the northern property line increases the separation from the properties to the north and providing thus a better compatibility. The proposed building that you're seeing today ranges from 27 feet to 50 feet in height and exceed the required setbacks. The site plan also indicates the required right-of-way buffers along the south, east, and west property line and the required incompatible buffers along the north side. In order to reduce the impact of the development to the surrounding areas, staff had added conditions of approval in regards to landscape, parking and loading, and use limitations. After the zoning commission, staff and the applicant met and had discussions. At the hearing, the applicant had presented some modifications to the conditions of approval. There were public comments on the zoning during the zoning commission. Cobra has concern with the height of building D, which is the salt service storage, which is at 50 feet high right now. At the hearings, after the hearing, modifications to the staff report were made. The warehouse building that were originally labeled at around 21 feet to 27 feet, staff had agreed to add a condition to allow those 4 buildings to go up to 35 feet if they need it, which is the permitted height in all the zoning districts. Building A, which is the fitness centers, the applicant had described, Jennifer said, that portion of the building needed to be higher in the event that they needed to provide the climbing the climbing area. Therefore, staff had added a condition that would allow them to do so. Staff also had discussion on use limitations as part of the zoning application that was presented. We have restrictions on the outdoor event, sound, and outdoor seating. We modified the condition for the BCC to say that would allow outdoor seating, but we had concern on the outdoor event and the sounds. More specifically where the water is and how the sound travels. Staff had meeting with the residents to the north and the nursery owners that live on their property, and they had concern with the noise. At this point, staff has received 4 letters from the public, including one from Cobra. The letters did not express opposition on the application itself, but did express concerns in regards to drainage, traffic in Egg Dairy Road, impact to the neighborhood, outdoor noise, pedestrian connectivity, outdoor storage, dumpster location, and limiting the building height. The application went to the zoning commission. They recommended approval, and staff has analyzed the application and he has determined that it's in compliance with all the standard of the code. Therefore, it's recommending approval of the request. And this concludes my presentation.
Thank you. Are there any questions for zoning at this time? Not seeing any. We will then move to our disclosures on item number 8. And we can start with Commissioner Baxter. Thank you. Commissioner Bernard.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On item number 8, I've had verbal communications with Jennifer Morton, Lauren McClellan, Jack Channing, John Channing, Seth Spiegel, Malcolm Butters, Tim Linkus, Barbara Logan, and Jim Knight.
Thank you. Commissioner Marino.
Thank you, Mayor. I met with Jennifer Morton, Lauren McClellan, John Channing, Zach Channing, Malcolm Butters, and I received emails from the public.
Thank you. Commissioner Woodward.
Thank you. I have verbal communication with Jennifer Morton, Lauren McClellan, John Channing, Zach Channing, and Seth Spiegel, and I have email correspondence.
Thank you. Commissioner Barnett.
Thank you, Mayor. I've had verbal communications with Jennifer Morton, John Channing, Zach Channing, Malcolm Butters, Steve Wallace, Debbie Murphy, Barbara Roth, Dagmar Ross. I have correspondence to receive and file. No site visit.
Thank you. Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. I had verbal communications and meetings with Tim Linkus, Sandy Linkus, Sue Stewart, John Channing, Malcolm Butters, Jennifer Morton, Seth Spiegel, Zach Channing, Lauren McClellan, Neil Ambrosio, Nick Bieber, Maurice Rockman, David Schulzen, Craig Dittman, Joe O'Donnell, Lori Vinegar, Rob Kusaden, John Gentithas, Annie Katz, York Freud, Dagmar Braz, Debbie Murphy, Barbara Roth, Pat Ford, Cindy Van Deventor, Drew Van Deventor, Dean Ferrer, Herb Callett, Linda Callert, and Jeff Galett, and had an on-site visit.
All right. And did you receive any emails on this?
In addition to all those folks, I certainly did receive correspondence and emails. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, very good. And for my own disclosure, I had verbal communications with Jennifer Morton, Lauren McClellan, John Channing, Zach Channing, Seth Spiegel, and Malcolm Butters, and received email correspondence to be filed with the clerk. All right, disclosures are now complete on this item, and we will now move to public comment, and I believe we have 16 cards on this item. So we will allow up to 3 minutes, but if you don't need the entire 3 minutes, we would more than welcome brief comments.
Thank you, Mayor. We do have 16 speaking cards, 12 checked that they were in favor, 3 opposed, and 1 checked both boxes, so you'll let us know when you get up here. And then there were 2 non-speaking cards. Both of them are in support of the project. So Tim Linkus, John Channing, Jim Knight, Joe Mulvihill. You can come up, take either podium. Okay, you're in favor. I saw that.
Good morning, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and the Commissioners. My name is Tim Linkus, 8289 West Boynton Beach Boulevard. I am one of the owners on this property, along with my wife, Sandy, and my sister, Sue Stewart. We located this property when we were searching for some land to expand, and back in 1979. I negotiated a price with them and started the process. Our main, in the nursery, our main crop was citrus, calamandas, miniature oranges. We shipped to all over the United States, Canada, and we developed a market to Belgium, Holland, Germany, England. And in '92, when Hurricane Andrew came through, Andrew also introduced the canker, which everyone knows about, which started marching up from the south up our way. Along with that came the citrus greening, and in the early 2000s, middle 2000s, the greening pretty much took us out of business. So that's what happened with our 43-year process in agriculture. Vice Mayor, I thank you for meeting with my wife Sandy and I in your office and discussing our problems, and actually coming out to the farm and driving around and taking a look at everything. The Channing Group and the Butters Group has come up with a very nice position, and I think it will make everyone out, the residents in the Ag Reserve, very happy. And I certainly hope that you all will support this. And I thank you for your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is John Channing. I live in Boca Raton, Florida. And Mayor Weiss, Vice Mayor Sachs, fellow county commissioners, we are very excited to present you a project that has been conceptualized with the help of commissioners, neighbors, staff, and our professionals. This has been a 2-year process that started with us meeting with Vice Mayor Sachs and showing her our original concept of 370 multifamily units and industrial. Instantly, she said, "That's not my vision. Why can't you do mixed use and restaurants? Why can't you do what you've done on PGA Boulevard? That's what I want." And I said, okay, and I didn't know how to react to Vice Mayor Sachs. So then I had a meeting after that with Neil Ambrosia, who's a board member of BARC, and he said that he would like us to build something that would benefit the neighborhood communities. Our schools are overcrowded already, and building more apartments does not bring anything to the residents. We need a craft brewery, recreational activities, office/warehouse for all the businesses that supply services to our communities. I agreed with Neil, and after consulting with Malcolm and my sons, we tore up the plan. We started from scratch. Our project is called The District, and you can see I'm wearing a button that says The District. This has everything that the neighbors want. We took everything that we got from commissioners, neighbors, and we came up with this concept. So we're very proud of it. One of the things that I've also addressed is on PGA Boulevard, which Commissioner Marina knows, is that we're very involved with creating landscape guidelines for PGA Boulevard many, many years ago. It's like 20 some odd years ago. And that really helped make PGA Boulevard beautiful. And I feel that Boynton Beach Boulevard needs that same help. So we have created guidelines, and we're going to be doing some really great landscaping on the boulevard. And we're hoping that the other projects that are going to get approved across the street will do the same thing, because that street needs it. So we're spending a lot more money than what is required. So anyway, we're very excited about this. I look for your support, and I think it's going to be a great project. So we thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Mulvihill, followed by Zach Channing, Steve Homerich, and Becca Smith.
Good morning, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Commissioners. Joe Mulvihill, 9821 Happy Hollow Road, Delray Beach, Florida. I'm here today to support my friends in this project. The Linkses have been, farming the project or farming this property since the 70s, just a few years after my dad started farming. I think it's a really good project, and please give it consideration to pass it. They're good people. Thank you.
Good. Good morning, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners. My name is Zach Channing, and I'm one of the developers on the project. I just want to talk a little bit about the uses that we put together. We think it's something really special and exciting, and quite frankly, something that I've never seen anywhere. So some of these uses that we put together, and we're calling it sort of a mixed-use recreational project. So some of them include indoor pickleball with 16 indoor pickleball courts, 2 outside, and we have a world-class rock climbing gym out of Boston that wants to come down here. And like Jennifer mentioned before, we're requesting to go up 45 feet, which is really going to create a really special rock climbing gym because it doesn't really exist right now in South Florida, because a lot of the existing industrial spaces only go up to 35 or so feet. So we're really creating and going to deliver a really awesome rock climbing project. We also got a gymnastics gym that wants to come into the project, and also a microbrewery. And I actually went last month, I went to Orlando to the Florida Microbrewery Conference, and I was undercover. I was probably the only developer there, and I was shopping and talking to all these breweries around Florida, and I actually found a few that are very interested in our project. And what we found out, and Jennifer mentioned, is they want to be in Building A because we created this outdoor space there. Instead of having a truck court, we're going to have an outdoor amenity space there. And they want to take advantage of that and have an outdoor area where families can come with their dogs and their kids, maybe have a guitar player, and really create a really awesome atmosphere. So I want to say how excited we are. I want to thank all the neighbors and everyone who came out to talk and support. We wouldn't be here without any of you, and we're really excited to deliver a world-class project. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Steve Homerich.
Good morning, Mayor and Commissioners. My name is Steve Homerich, 690 Northeast 15th Place in Boynton Beach. My wife and I came today to support the Linkuses. They're good friends. They're great nursery people like we were back in the day, and they are all just good people altogether. And I've heard them say today that this has been a 2-year project, but really for the Linkuses, it's been a 30-year project. They own the land for 44 years, but the Ag Reserve got overlaid on top of their property, and they've been to every meeting, all the years and years that we've gone to meetings, they've been there. And, you know, back when it was, Ag Reserve was put on top of us, we were told that the urban service line would move from the east to the west eventually, and it'd probably change our zoning. Well, they're as far closest to that old urban service line of the turnpike as anybody, and it's obviously jumped over them. There's hospitals, there's schools, everything's gone beyond them, and somehow they got left behind because the way the Ag Reserve Plan was written, it did a disfavor to 40-acre parcels. So I'm glad to see their day has finally arrived. Better late than never, and I think it's a great project for the community. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I have cards for Becca Smith, Amy Gordon, Rachel Shapiro, and Dagmar Braz. Go right ahead. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Becca Smith. I live right by this project. Oh, is that better? Okay. I'm a resident of Canyon Lakes, and for the last 2 years, we've been working with the developers for the BC Commerce in hopes that they will listen to us and develop a project that will benefit the community and include uses that we want and need. I am happy to report that the developer and his team have exceeded my expectations and that of our community. When I moved to the Canyon over 10 years ago, there was not much in this family at all for this area at all for families. This project has caused great excitement in the community. Recreational activities and a great brewery with even live music would be an absolute gift for us. I would additionally like to add that I run all of the social media for all the Canyon communities, and the support for this project has been overwhelmingly positive, like zero negativity, which is very rare for a lot of people. We've invested a lot of time and effort to attend meetings and offer input. We're excited about this project and eagerly anticipating a grand opening. In conclusion, we know that some of the details are continuing to be worked out, but based on the developer's reputation and the effort and commitments they have made to our community, I request that this project and any proposed conditions, which will give the developer flexibility to deliver the best possible project. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Ms. Gordon?
Hi. I'm Amy Gordon, and I'm a resident of Canyon Trails in Boynton Beach for the past 10 years. I'm here today to advocate for the approval of this new shopping center, The District, a BC Commerce project in our community. This proposed development, which includes a brewery with outdoor food and games like we discussed, indoor pickleball, indoor rock climbing, and gymnastics, holds an immense importance for our neighborhood's growth and prosperity. As our community continues to thrive and expand, it is crucial that we support the establishment of local businesses. This shopping center will not only provide a wide range of recreational activities, but also contribute to the economic development of our area. By attracting visitors from neighborhood communities, this center will boost local commerce and create job opportunities for many of our residents. The addition of the district will perfectly complement the new middle school that just opened its doors the first day of school. We also have a park that was just built, and we have a library that's in the works that's almost finished as well. Our children, who are the heart of our community, will greatly benefit from having our after-school activities within close proximity. This will not only keep them engaged and active, but also foster a sense of community and belonging. With over, I think it's about 2,500, homes in our community, we have been patiently waiting for an establishment like this. The demand for such facilities is evident, and we've seen that on all of our Facebook posts that Rebecca has been posting. And this shopping center will no doubt meet the needs and desires of all of our residents. I would also like to highlight the developer's reputation and their commitment to our community. They have demonstrated genuine dedication to our well-being by investing time, effort, and resources into this project. I kindly request that the board's support for this project and any proposed conditions that would grant the developer the flexibility needed to ensure the success of this project. Approving this shopping center will not only enhance our community's longevity, but also demonstrate our community's commitment to supporting local businesses and fostering a vibrant and wonderful neighborhood. Thank you for your time and consideration, and let us all work together to shape the future that benefits us all. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Shapiro? Followed by Dagmar Braz, and then Paul O'Keefe.
Hi, everyone. I'm Rachel Shapiro. Thank you for this opportunity to speak today. I stand before you as a proud resident of the Canyons, advocating for a brighter future for our community. We need a place where families could come together to create memories and thrive. Our community deserves more than just occasional Starbucks and a Chipotle. Imagine a space filled with activities and opportunities for families to bond and grow together. The feedback from our community has been overwhelmingly positive, with a genuine desire for families in a friendly space. By approving this proposal, we invest in our community's future with happiness from all the residents. I am grateful for choosing the Canyons as my family's home, and I believe with this right decision today, we can create and have activities treasured in our memories in our backyard. Thank you for your time and consideration. Let's build a brighter future for the Canyons together.
Thank you. And we do have 2 microphones, so Mr. O'Keefe, will you want to take this one? And Ms. Bras.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Dagmar Bross. I am here speaking in representing Cobra today. Somehow we've become the bad guy that we don't support this project. We support this project. This is an excellent use for this piece of property. The problem that Cobra has is the fact that, and is it possible to put the site plan up for us by any chance? The problem that Cobra has is the first thing that you're going to see when you come on Boynton Beach Boulevard under the turnpike is going to be a 50-foot tall concrete cube. It's a storage facility. In the olden days, it used to be you need to demonstrate need in order to get an approval. We have Life Storage Building directly on the other side of Acme Dairy Road. We have another storage facility that is already approved for just on the other side of the turnpike. And there's one right behind the Shops of Monterey just on the south side, abutting the turnpike. That square building as you come in being 50 foot, and they keep referring to the hospital. It's not fair to refer to a hospital in comparison with the height of a building. Same thing with the middle school. That middle school does have an architectural feature which is 50 feet tall, but it is hundreds of feet, if not yards, off of Boynton Beach Boulevard. This is going to be the first thing you see when you come into the Ag Reserve. We are excited about all the uses that they're proposing. We think it's going to be a community center. We're excited about the brewery and the opportunities for businesses, small businesses, to be located in the area. We like everything, but again, you're talking about the vision. Commissioner Sachs said what you were previously proposing, that is not my vision. And we're talking about the aesthetics of the corridor. We appreciate Mr. Channing and Mr. Butters and Jennifer Morton. She worked her fanny off on this project because it flip-flopped a lot back and forth. We are grateful. But at the end of the day, all the work that we put into the Ag Reserve, the feeling that we want to have for the Ag Reserve, and I do have to bring up the storage facility in the PGA Commons, okay? That's behind a hotel, a DoubleTree, and a CVS pharmacy. That storage facility is the first thing you're going to see, and it's not next to the turnpike. You can see the water retention area. It's hundreds of feet. It's not next to the turnpike. We are asking, if you can't shove the storage facility in the back of the property, please don't let it be 50 feet and be that the first thing when you create cube. Thank you.
Thank you. Sir.
Good morning, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners. My name's Paul O'Keen, Morningstar Nursery, Delray Beach, Florida. I'm here to enthusiastically support BC Commercial Project, as well as Tim Linkus. This project, as far as I'm concerned, has been thoughtfully planned, tastefully designed, and well curated. No doubt about it. I think it's going to be a great asset to the community. No doubt about that. I believe it to be clearly compatible to the area, and I think it's going to be the most vibrant and highly desirable project that's been constructed out there, perhaps ever. Tim Linkus, I've known for 40 or so years. Yes, he's a legacy grower. Valleco Nursery is an iconic nursery. When I built my nursery in 1983, was growers like Tim Linkus, Andy Logan, Bill Mazzoni, Joe Mulvihill, and others that raised the bar very high in the nursery industry. I was proud to be part of that group. They raised the bar to the point where I had to up my game. They made me a better grower, better nurseryman, and a better person. So the Linkus, as far as I'm concerned, and others, certainly have earned the right to sell their property at market. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. May I please have Gail Ladd, Drew Martin, Pat Ford, Herb Kaler.
Good morning again. I'm Gail Ladd from Jupiter, Florida. I feel like I'm in the minority. I know I am. But it's important for you to hear that the Ag Reserve is so important and had an original idea to keep agriculture here in this part of Florida. And I understand how people feel, especially the farmers. I understand that. But every little cut we make into the Ag Reserve, that's the end of it. It's the end of the land. Putting down concrete, putting down buildings makes it hotter. We need native trees, native plants. I'm not sure what these farmers are doing or what they had been doing. I think very often it was non-native plants here in Florida. We need gardeners and farmers who really want to keep Florida native, keep Florida the way it was. Certainly we have to increase, we have to change. Change is always a given, but let's change for the future. Let's change for being able to keep Florida green. It's getting to be blacker and grayer, and that's not good for our environment. It's not good for our climate change. This project seems like a wonderful project. If you have to approve it, I understand why you do. But I think eventually we have to look back and we have to say, this project is good for the neighborhood, but if we hadn't changed the neighborhood, we wouldn't need the project. So yes, I'm opposed to it, and I thank you for listening.
Sir?
Good morning. My name is Patrick Ford. I'm behind the Valleco project here, 8496 Court South. I have 10-acre nursery, and I live there. I'm in favor of the project. I'm in favor of the 50-foot building being at the Boynton Beach. And I'm also in favor of the 2 osprey stands they're putting up for our pet ospreys who have been there for about 10 years, mating. I had 3 major concerns. One was drainage, which we go out through Valleco's nursery now over across Boynton Beach Boulevard. I'm assuming that's taken care of. We were concerned about not having a wall put up, and they are addressing that with a 6-foot wall. We would like it a little bit bigger, but maybe they can put a little bit of berm on that to get it a little taller, to keep us separated. And the third one was traffic coming in on Acme Dairy Road. They're gonna have tractor trailers coming down to their second entrance. So we had requested that they would put a turn lane all the way to their second entrance. If you've driven tractor trailers, they're gonna end up on a 2-lane road, blocking both north and south lanes trying to get in. So it'd be advantageous for us to have a second lane or third lane coming in as far as that goes. Tim, Sandy, Barbara Logan have all been friends of mine for 45 years. They deserve this, and they've been fighting for this since 1980 when you put the Ag Reserve against us, which we fought then. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Drew Martin, followed by Herb Kaler, and our final card is Dean Fenner. I apologize if I butchered your last name.
Drew Martin. I'm here on behalf of the Sierra Club. I want to say that I've heard a lot of Jennifer Morton with a lot of interesting arguments, but I thought alcohol for dogs is really the first time I've heard that the dogs are begging for a brewery. I thought that was pretty interesting. Oh, the kids are begging for a brewery. Well, that's great. I didn't think that, I mean, I don't know. I don't have kids, so I don't know. Maybe they do want to go to a brewery.
When I was in high school.
It's not like there are no bars in Palm Beach County. In fact, I'm sure a lot of you will go to a bar today. You may not drink, but you don't have to drink at a brewery either. But the point is that there's no need, and I think Dagmar, who makes excellent comments, I told her I wish she would come and represent the Sierra Club, made it quite clear. There is no need. Storage. I love to talk about storage. It's killing me. As Seinfeld said, storage is where you put everything you're never going to use, and then you pay for it for the next, until you die. I mean, is this this is a favor to the people who are out there that we're going to let them pay for storage? I think that's quite amazing. Pickleball, I think it's great. It has to be air conditioned. Air conditioning is terrible for the environment. And you may say, well, what's the alternative other than being like me and not having air conditioning? The alternative is heat pumps. Maybe you could have a heat pump installer out there. There's all kinds of things you can do. Maybe if you had a few trees out there, instead of selling all the nurseries, you had a nursery that actually put some shade trees in. You might be able to reduce some of the heat. Air conditioning creates a huge amount of heat, and I can tell you because I work in a building that has about 100 units on the roof, and it's about 15 degrees warmer where I work outside than it is inside the building. And one of the residents called the air conditioning company and said, can you do something about the weather outside my apartment because it's making my apartment hot? He tried to explain that air conditioning cannot be used outside. Not yet, although I'm sure there are people that would love to do it. So anyway, and I don't even want to talk about Lahaina, but I feel bad for the people there. But a lot of those people died from the poisonous toxic fumes. And why is that? Because instead of open land, they had development. And all these chemicals that go in, toxic chemicals that go into these buildings. So again, I hope you will vote this down, and I'm pretty sure you won't. Thank you.
Mr. Kaler?
Good morning. I'm Herb Kaler. I've been a resident of the West Boynton area for over 40 years. It's been my family's homestead. We live within about 1,000 foot of this project. We've watched the neighborhood change, the ag reserve go away, so to speak. And we're here, like Dagmar and Pat Ford, speaking about small elements of this great project. We believe the Butters and Cheney have a good reputation. There's no reason why this won't be a stellar project, and we support it. And we have throughout this 2-year program that has been described. My particular question is, or has been, the impact of large vehicles turning on Acme Dairy Road and entering the project on the south side to serve the 2 major warehouse buildings, which they have accommodated with a right turn lane. But unfortunately, where the largest traffic will be the northern 2 lanes, northern 2 buildings, where you'll have large semi-trucks, 53-footers, making turns, and we all know that they swing out and to make those turns because of our large buildings. And so I suggested that we do an amendment to staff's condition number 7, whereby we would extend or request that the county extend the right turn lane to the northernmost access point. That would be an amendment to condition number 7. We have talked to the teams that have been involved in the design, and while they did accommodate a right turn lane for the first 2 buildings, we think there ought to be an additional one at the north. On the second issue, which I addressed in a letter to the commission as well earlier in the week, involves the craft beer area. I guess that would be building A, B, C. All along, this has been shown as building C, and today we hear that we're probably going to move it into building A, which is not properly reflected then on the site plan. Our concern is one of loud music. Today we hear Caridad when they have events. We hear the Canyons Amphitheater when they have events. And now we're placing essentially a venue that could be closer to the residents to the north. And so we do support the staff's recommendation to prohibit any outdoor special events or amplified music for the tap room. Thank you, and we look for your support.
And the last one is Dean. Sorry, Dean, I can't read your writing for the last name. Thank you, sir.
Well, I checked, what did I check? Oppose and?
You put both.
I put both. Oppose and approve. The main reason to start with, I've known Tim for years, and there's no reason why you can't sell his land. I mean, like Steve said, he's been bypassed with the Ag Reserve, you know, putting these controls on him, and there's just no reason why you can't sell his land. I mean, how would you like to have your house? You have a 3-bedroom house and can't serve it because can't sell it because the homeowner association says, well, you can only sell a one-bedroom house. And that's what's happened to Steve. He's been bypassed. He can't sell his land. So he needs to sell, and I approve that part. The things I disapprove is the warehousing. You kicked out the landscapers in the Ag Reserve. So now you're going to put warehousing, you're going to put plumbers and irrigation supplies or whatever for in the Ag Reserve. So you just passed Amendment 6 where you put the storage and commercial properties on 441. That should be on 441, not in the Ag Reserve in this area where they have the traffic when the semis come in and out, and not right here in our little area. And I don't agree with the tap room. We already have enough breweries in the area. We got 5 places that sells alcohol, and now you're going to put another one in. You got schools across the street. You're going to teach your kids to come to the tap room with alcohol. You know, that's crazy. And only one commissioner come out to view this project. That was Mrs. Sachs. I met her at Pat Ford's. And the rest of you are sitting here going to vote on this? That's crazy. So, I was just up in New York State. I seen the Seneca Indian reservation selling marijuana. You can get your gas. If you want change, you can take it in marijuana. Or get your change. Now, what's the tap room going to be? We're going to have dispensaries there too? Is that what we're going to turn into? I live in the back side of this, and I've been here for 30-some years. We got people from the Canyons. 10 years. I've been there 10 years. This is a good project. They have no clue what's going on out here in the Ag Reserve. No clue. So, I hope you reevaluate what's going on here. But Tim needs to sell his property. There's no reason why he has to be in a nursing home before he sells the property. And that's what you restricted us to. Thank you.
That's it for cards, Mayor.
Okey-doke. All right, well, we'll bring it back. Commissioner Sachs, you have a comment? Oh, I'm sorry. 1 second.
Now would be appropriate if the applicant has any
rebuttal?
Yeah.
That's exactly what I was going to ask. Lawyers, right?
Jennifer Morton, just a couple of comments. We didn't really talk about some of the other We have had a lot of neighborhood outreach meetings, including the residents to the north that own the wholesale nurseries. The drainage question, yes, we are working with the property owners to the north, their attorney, our client's attorney, to find a solution for their drainage. So I think that is off the table. Some other things that we've done, they've asked about our dumpsters, where they're going to be located. Our dumpsters, and there was a concern that they were going to be in parking spaces. We provided those code sections indicating that that's a code enforcement issue. Our dumpsters have to go in the location identified on the plan. We've also done some extra things, like we've already added one turn lane on Acme Dairy Road to address their concerns about truck traffic. And along our north property line, as they mentioned, we've got canopy trees, palm trees, shrubs, a 6-foot wall. And then regarding the discussion about the brewery and tap room and the location, we're getting the site plan approved. We're identifying where the users that we want to have on the property, and the issue about where the tap room is going to be located came up at Zoning Commission. We raised the issue at Zoning Commission. We worked with staff on that, and we're just asking for some flexibility. I think the concern is noise, and the county has a noise ordinance code that limits the amount of noise that a project can create that would affect the off-site properties. Some of the other questions, we actually spoke with a noise or an acoustical consultant last weekend to talk about noise, and he said the unique thing about this site is it's located near the Florida Turnpike. The Turnpike actually raises the ambient level of noise in the area, so you have that background noise of the Turnpike that already exists. There are a lot of nurseries in this area. Those nurseries get serviced by diesel trucks that have, flatbed trucks where the plants get delivered, plants get picked up. And if you look at your noise ordinance, we are limited by decibel readings. Our client is committed to following the noise code. And for example, at night, between 10 p.m. and 7 a.m., we cannot exceed 50 decibels on any adjacent property. That 50 decibel, what does that sound like? That sounds like a quiet suburb, like a refrigerator, a conversation at home. So the protections are already in place. They exist in the code. I know it's a code enforcement issue, or we feel it becomes a code enforcement issue. The unique thing about this project is we know who the developers are. If there's a problem, you can pick up the phone, you can call Malcolm Butters, you can call John Channing, and they will address the issue. If they call your office, if residents call your office, you can call the developer. They want to be good neighbors. I think that the amount of time, effort, and resources that they've devoted to developing this project shows that they care about what the community's, the concerns of the community. So I really think that those issues that were raised are addressed either on our plan, or they're more they're code issues that are the rules that are already in place to address those. Thank you.
All right, Commissioner Woodward, you're recognized, and then Commissioner Barnett.
Yes, Ms. Morton, could you also address the concerns for the aesthetics on Boynton Beach Boulevard, specifically what was mentioned about the 5-story building and how this looks entering the ag reserve, please?
So that location was chosen because It's not in close proximity to any existing developments. As you mentioned, or as a couple of the gentlemen mentioned, they have wholesale nurseries on the north side of the property. Some of those wholesale nurseries actually have a carve out so they can have their single family home on that nursery. So we didn't want to push the tallest building up next to the residence. So we pulled it. We're engaging the street. Also, what that building height does is it allows for variety along the streetscape so that every building is not the same size. 50 feet, that building is set back at least 45 feet from the right-of-way. And within that buffer, we're going to have a very nice landscape buffer. So when you're driving down the street, it's not like you got this big building looming over you. That's one building. Then you have a building that's 35 feet, and you have another building that's another height. So it adds to the variety of the streetscape, and you know, I think it'll fit in.
My question was more, when I had my meeting with you, you spoke a lot about landscaping that has been done on, I guess, PGA Boulevard, where previous projects like this exist. I'm very visual, so if you could kind of explain how it's going to look, and, you know, are we talking about a concrete block building, or is...
So if you could go to, let me see, slide 28. So we have done some visuals. We've done a conceptual elevation for one of the office warehouse buildings. That's the visual that you see on the wall. You can see that the roof line, there's articulation along the roof line. There's also articulation along the facade. So we are focused on what the architecture looks like. If you go to the next slide, the next slide. So then this is just a sample of the landscaping and buffering that we're proposing along Boynton Beach Boulevard. And we did model it after PGA, the PGA Boulevard. They have a corridor design guidelines. So we utilized a lot of those design guidelines. In addition, we're creating a pedestrian pathway through that buffer. That buffer ranges anywhere from 45 feet up to about 70 or 75 feet. So there's plenty of room to landscape and create some undulating berms. And, you know, we just haven't, as we get into the details of the design, you know, there might be some artwork that we can put in there. You know, I think we're excited about getting the project entitled, continuing to develop our theme, our architecture theme, our landscape theme, but I can commit that the PGA corridor, John Channing's project, was really the first one to come online. He set the standard for PGA Boulevard, and those other projects have fallen in line. I think he's going to set the standard for Boynton Beach Boulevard, and look forward to seeing the other projects follow suit.
Commissioner, you're done?
My question was along the same lines as Commissioner Woodward's, and I feel like Jennifer Morton's answered the question.
Okay.
To my satisfaction, thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Marino, you're recognized.
Thank you, and I had to pipe in since PGA Boulevard, which is in my district, has been talked about a lot today. Mr. Channing, he was also part of an organization called, he still is a part of the PGA Corridor Association, and those members have spoken with the City of Palm Beach Gardens, and they actually have an overlay on PGA Boulevard so that we do have great architecture and great landscape. Going to what Ms. Braz said about the store location, which is in PGA Boulevard, it is not behind, actually it is beside, yes, a CVS and hotel, but as you exit off of 95, that's the first thing you see, and I pass it almost every day, and there are some architectural features on it, so it is not I don't even notice it. So I have no concerns about the 50-foot height on that building as an entrance. As a matter of fact, if you're going over the bridge on PGA Boulevard, the first thing you see are the towers, the Vasta towers. Then they have an architectural feature on the top of them. So I'm sure that Mr. Channing, knowing what he has done on PGA Boulevard, we'll be doing the same thing here on Boynton Beach Boulevard. Otherwise, he'll have us to contend with. So I actually am in favor of the project, and I know there are others who'd like to speak, so I'm going to yield my time. Thank you.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Sachs, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. You know, folks, this is in my district, and speaking to my colleagues here, I studied the development of the Ag Reserve because before there was an Ag Reserve, there was agriculture. Years before the Agricultural Reserve was created, it was beautiful agriculture. There was landscapers, we had farmers, we had citrus growers like the Lincas family. And we did very well because the soil in the Ag Reserve is what makes it so special. You can grow just about anything. I know because I've got a lot of weeds in my area and everything grows. And I live in the Ag Reserve. So in the 1990s, the folks who were sitting in these seats decided to try to preserve some of this area of beautiful agriculture and rich soil. And so they created these rules and regulations, and there were two very important regulations that I want to speak about. Because sometimes we don't know about it, and that's okay because I didn't know about it before I read it. But in the master plan, the folks who were sitting in these seats said, you know, we got to have all these people out there in the Ag Reserve, the farmers and the landscapers and everything, but where are they going to go to get services? Where are they going to go to listen to some music or get a haircut or get their nails done? So we got to have two areas we're going to set aside for mixed use so that they have a place to go. One area is Atlantic Avenue and the Turnpike, and Atlantic Avenue all the way to 441. The second area is what we're talking about today. Boynton Beach Boulevard and the Turnpike. This particular area has been set aside in the master plan for mixed use to service, and I'm taking this right out of the master plan, to serve the needs of the residents. To serve the needs of the residents. So if a resident of the Ag Reserve wants to have some entertainment or buy something, they don't have to go east because we don't want them to go east because that increases traffic. So I asked the people in the Ag Reserve, I've been doing it all the time, what do you want? What do you want for services in the Ag Reserve? And this is what they told me. The number one thing they want is they want a place where they can sit and enjoy some music. They want to sit in a place where they can sit outside, have a beer or have a drink, have their kids around, have the dogs out there, an outdoor place where they can just come as they are and enjoy some entertainment. They also said, and this is something I would never have thought, they want an indoor air-conditioned recreation center. And when I was a kid, we didn't have indoor air-conditioned recreation center. We played outside, it was okay. But maybe now, because it's getting hotter, the kids want air conditioning to play. And so this was one of the ideas that we had for this area. Wanted an indoor air-conditioned recreation center, pickleball for those who want to play it, and a lot of people love pickleball. And then I wanted something for the kids to do as well. That way, mom and dad can play pickleball, or grandpa and grandma can play pickleball, and the kids can do other things that they like to do, indoor and air conditioned. This is also included in this. And they wanted a place where they can bring their dogs. People love dog parks. I realized after a while, going to a couple of dog parks in my area, it's really not for the dogs. Dogs don't really need to go out and meet other dogs. It's really for the people who own the dogs who want to go out and meet other people. It's a social interaction. And this will have this particular recreation for them as well. And I really like the idea of a community garden. We have soil. Let's not cement it over. Let's keep some of this soil so that people can grow for their garden, for the residents, whatever they want to grow. And that will also be included in this. So I'm excited about this. I've been working with Channing's dad and son, and Malcolm Butters, Jennifer and Lauren and everybody involved. But I wanted them to be sure that they met with the neighbors. Why? The neighbors were there first, and they should be respected. So the neighbors, Pat met with everybody, Lincoln's, Pat Ford, Herb Kelbert, got all your letters. And I made sure that everybody met with each other because it's a community, you see. I don't like to have people just, bully into an area and say, this is what we're doing. Want to get along with the neighbors. And the neighbors, I think, have met all of their demands. There'll be others, looking at you, Herb. There'll be other issues. And by golly, I know that John Channing will take care of that because this is a process, and Malcolm, I won't give your phone numbers out, but you've got mine, Herb and everybody, I know you do. But I know that they will work with the neighbors to make sure that they got native plants. Dagmar, they're gonna have native plants up there. And if we have to do a mural on that storage wall, we'll make sure that everybody likes it, whatever it is. This is a neighborhood. This is a neighborhood that the neighbors and other areas in the Ag Reserve want these services, and we will make sure that this is a work in progress. And I know Jennifer Morton will assure that. So I support this. I want to hear from my colleagues as well before I even make a motion. But I can make, maybe I'll make the motion now, Mayor, if that's okay? Sure. Okay, I make the motion at this time that we, let me get the magic words here. Thank you. Motion to adopt an ordinance approving.
Item 7.
Yes, she's doing so.
Motion to adopt an ordinance approving the BC Commerce Center FLUA amendment at this time.
Second.
So we have a motion by Vice Mayor Sachs, and this is on item number 7. A motion by Vice Mayor Sachs, a second by Commissioner Bernard. Commissioner Baxter, you're recognized.
Thank you. Vice Mayor, did you want to include the, because they had asked about allowing outdoor,
This is on the land use.
oh, so next one.
Did you have another?
Yeah.
Commissioner Bernard, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I do support Commissioner Sachs on this item. One of the residents stated that they had issues with the Starbucks and the Chipotle. I like that Starbucks. And I do like the Chipotle. And there's a Sushiyama there too, and I like that too. So I just want to let you know that there are good restaurants out there. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any further comments, questions from the board? Not seeing, this is on item 7. This is the future land use amendment. All right, all in favor? All opposed? That motion carries 7-0. Now we're on to item number 8, and Commissioner Baxter, you're recognized.
I'll let Commissioner Sachs, or excuse me, Vice Mayor Sachs make the motion.
Thank you. I'd like to make the motion to adopt a resolution approving of item 8C. A, B, and C.
Okay. So we have a motion by the Vice Mayor, a second by Commissioner Marino, and
if I might clarify, if we can go to the next slide, Valerie, did that include this slide, which is recommended by the applicant, or is that as recommended by staff? This is the change the applicant is requesting about allowing the outdoor,
Definitely.
eliminating the prohibition to outdoor activities and then allowing the relocation of the building from the front on Boynton to somewhere within the Building A, except within 240 feet of the northern property line. This is what the applicant is requesting.
That should be included in my motion, Lisa. Thank you for explaining that, definitely.
okay. So we have a motion by the Vice Mayor. It's been clarified. We had a second from Commissioner Marino, and now we'll Commissioner Baxter. Oh, do you? Oh, okay. Thank you. I just a clarification for me then, please, on the drainage. That was an item that was brought up. I believe we have a requirement that for drainage that has been traditionally provided, that it has to continue on, is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. I'm Scott Cantor, Director of Land Development. We are aware of a connection from the properties to the north into this site. I've been working with the engineer on various solutions. I wasn't aware of the attorneys working it out, but I have been talking with the engineer, and there is a condition of approval regarding any historical flows having to be accommodated, and we will work through those as we move through the process.
Okay, very good. All right, thank you. All right, anybody else? Okay, seeing none, we will call this question. All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, that motion carries 7-0. All right, thank you all very much. All right, it is now 11:16. We are now moving on to items 9 and 10. So, yes, sure.
Thank you, Mayor. I wanted to, I have a concern. So I had asked if it was okay, or allowable, I should say, with the support of my board. I'd like to possibly, because we just received the information on item number 11, which is the trucking information, 2 days ago. And I had asked, I wanted it more in advance, so I had more time to research, look over everything, read through it, and really be a lot more, do a lot more research before we addressed this today. So I had asked if it was possible with your support to possibly move it to next Wednesday. So I wanted to know if anyone had any objections to that when we have our comp plan meeting already.
Any issue from administration?
That can be done, yes.
Okay. So let's see, do we need a motion to modify the agenda then?
Yes.
Okay, Commissioner Baxter, would you like to make that motion?
I'd like to make the motion to postpone item number 11 to next Wednesday when we have our comp plan meeting. I believe it's August 30th.
Okay, so we have a motion by Commissioner Baxter, a second by Commissioner Bernard. Any discussion on changing the agenda to move item 11 to August 30th? Seeing none, all in favor, all opposed, that motion carries 7-0. So that item will now be moved. I understand people have come down here and submitted their cards. If you would, I guess we could have asked if they wanted to speak against our postponement. I mean, we've already voted, but Scott,
Yeah, I think because this wasn't an official agenda item, it was in your discretion to allow public comment in the first place. It's within your discretion to allow public comment now
I don't
after the
think we
fact.
need it then. Okay. All right. Thank you. All right. Okay, now, so we're now moving to items 9 and 10. And so we can, I guess we can get started and maybe with the applicant's presentation, and then we'll break for lunch. Does that work for everybody? Okay. So remember, you're holding everybody up from going to their event, so just not putting any pressure on you.
Okay, I'll go fast. Jennifer Morton with J. Morton Planning and Landscape Architecture, representing the Logan Ranch property. This site is located on the south side of the project that we just spoke about, BC Commerce. So I've gone over with you. You know what's in the corridor, you know what's in the area. We have 2 requests before you today. The first one is the adoption of the land use change to essential housing, and the second is approval of the rezoning to MUPD. I just was going to highlight the comprehensive plan change real quickly. This is actually the first request to utilize the new land use category called essential housing. The Ag Reserve is 22,000 acres. There's only one project that's been approved that includes workforce housing. That's Reserve at Atlantic. It's on Atlantic Avenue. This would be the second project that would allow for workforce housing in the Ag Reserve and the first essential housing category to be approved if the board approves it today. And then as far as essential housing goes, this is a page out of the staff report identifying potentially 3 sites. Those other 2 sites are utilizing a different land use category. So truly this is the most likely only location for essential housing along Boynton Beach Boulevard. With that, I did a full presentation on the transmittal hearing. We are consistent with the comp plan, and I would request that you support the land use change. We had support for the land use change from both Cobra and Bark. One of the comments in the support of the land use change is please meet with us to continue to develop the site plan for this property. Both Cobra and Bark mentioned that in their support letters, and we continued to do that. So if you look at the rezoning, I'm showing you this slide so you can see how the proposed site plan fits in with the uses in the area. Specifically, you can see Canyon Trails located directly south of this development project, and then you have Canyon Lakes located southwest. You've got the school, elementary and middle school to the west, and you have Canyon District Park west. And the purpose of this slide is so you can see where our preserve area is. Now I'm turning the slide so you can see a little bit more detail. So north is pointing to the left. Boynton Beach Boulevard is on the left-hand portion of the slide, just to orient you. We are requesting essential housing. Essential housing allows 8 units to the acre. We're proposing 8 units to the acre. That's 314 multifamily units. And of those 314, we will have 79 workforce housing units. Those units will be evenly distributed throughout the project. This is meets all the requirements for preservation. A normal PUD in the Ag Reserve with AGR land use requires a 60-40, meaning develop on 40%, preserve 60%. Same scenario for the this project, multifamily. We're preserving 23.17 acres of land as shown in the green and the blue area. Within that area, we're proposing a passive park, other ag reserve preservation uses, such as maybe a community garden, maybe some agriculture, and then some open space. The development area is clustered on 15.44 acres. And what we've done is we are providing 2 product types. We have a 2-story, it looks like a townhouse proposed, and then the 4-story multifamily building with elevators. One of the, as we developed our site plan, we met with the community, and one of the things that they request, 2 things they requested. One, that the development area be located away from the single-family development to the south, Canyon Trails. So we located our development area 800 feet away from our south property line. And what we also did is we located our 2-story product along the south property. So our 2-story product is 800 feet away, and our 4-story product is 900 feet away. And 900 feet equates to 3 football fields, just to give you some sort of visualization. So it's far. The other thing that the residents asked for is Acme Dairy Road. They drive up and down that road. What are we proposing for Acme Dairy? Could we provide some additional preserve area along the Acme Dairy Road corridor? We accommodated their request. Our closest 2-story building is 150 feet away, and our closest 4-story building is 180 feet away. Originally, one of the earlier plans had the development area clustered up along Boynton Beach Boulevard. During one of our meetings with Cobra, they asked that we add some green space, open space, also along Boynton Beach Boulevard. So we adjusted the site plan, and we actually now have over 300 feet, again, a football field to the closest 4-story building. So, you know, a lot of outreach was had, but I think we were able to come up with a much better, well-developed site plan. We have, as I mentioned, the middle school to the west. We did a quick cross-section because I know on this project as well, Cobra requested nothing taller than 3 stories. And this cross-section demonstrates that Acme Dairy Road is 95 feet of right-of-way, plus or minus. Our closest 2-story product is on the right-hand side. The school is on the left-hand side. You will not be able to see our 4-story product. Our 4-story product is even further away than the school is shown. And again, the height issue, only because it's in their support letter requesting that you limit the project to 3 stories. This corridor has buildings that are taller than 38 feet, and even the uses directly next to this site, those heights are taller than what Cobra was recommending. So we've got, again, we worked with Bark. Bark makes up the residential communities in the Ag Reserve, multiple meetings with them, a letter of support specifically for this project and identifying the amount of effort that we put into working with the community. Cobra supports the project as well, with the caveat asking for a condition on height. In summary, we have support from staff for both the land use change and the rezoning. We have support from Planning Commission for the land use change. Zoning Commission unanimously supported this project. We've done a lot of community outreach, support from Bark and from Cobra. And with that, that concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions for the applicant at this time? All right. Vice Mayor? No, I'm not hearing any. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and we will recess this meeting. We will be back at 1:20, and we will continue on with our staff presentation. Thank you.
Welcome to Inside PBC, where we highlight what's going on inside Palm Beach County. An overpopulation crisis in animal shelters is happening across the country. Palm Beach County is no different. The Animal Care and Control Department is updating its plea for help. While about 40 of the 230 dogs are in new homes, the shelter is still at its limit. Here are the urgent actions needed. If you adopt an at-risk dog, adoption fees are waived. Fostering for 2 to 6 weeks gives a temporary, loving home, and supplies are provided. Volunteering, donating, and sharing the message for help are all greatly appreciated. Pay attention, scammers could be trying to get your personal information by claiming that you have an upcoming court date and you need to confirm your appearance, or a warrant will be issued for your arrest. If you are doubtful or have a suspicion that something's wrong, hang up, call the official phone number for the courthouse. And if you get your water from Palm Beach County Water Utilities, you are getting Gold Award service. The Western Region North Facility and the Southern Water Reclamation Facility are both receiving top honors from the National Association of Clean Water Agencies. For all this and more, visit our website at pbcgov.com.
This is PBC TV, your channel for county programs and services. Join us as we celebrate improvements to communities throughout Palm Beach County, including groundbreakings, ribbon cuttings, new services, dedications, and more. This